us all oppressed!
This is Teresa Shen, an abolitionist from New York City and one of 61 people charged by the Georgia Attorney General's office for an alleged racketeering conspiracy born out of a multi-year protest movement against a police training center known as Cop City, being built in a forest just outside of Atlanta. Teresa was arrested during a police raid of the Weelaunee Forest on January 18, 2023. Teresa and other opponents of the training center have been called outside agitators and violent anarchists.
Domestic terrorists, anarchists, whatever you want to call them, a lot of out-of-state people that, really shouldn't have a dog in this fight or come into our city.
Today, I'm in Brooklyn, New York, to hear who Teresa is, in her own words.
Just sit here. Awesome. This is comfy.
Yeah, it's very cozy.
If we can just dive right into it, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You were arrested in the forest.
What was special about this forest? What drew you down to Atlanta?
When I heard about this struggle, what struck me was it felt like a symbol of just everything that is wrong with our world, because it's such a interconnected struggle. If they ever get to build Cop City, they're going to train police from all over this U.S. empire, basically to further surveil and to increase their control on the population. Like, all eyes are really on Georgia right now to see the outcome of what will happen with Cop City, because this is something that law enforcement everywhere wants to copy. And I think it's really imperative that we don't allow the state to call people outside agitators or to, isolate our struggles. Because when we allow the state to isolate our struggles and to say that what happens in one region doesn't affect another, we will end up losing our freedom and losing our dignity and losing our lives in the end. So when they call me an outside agitator when I go to Atlanta to oppose Cop City, I would ask them, well, why are you recruiting officers to join the APD in New York? I don't understand what they're talking about when they're calling me an outside agitator for fighting for something that will very much affect me and my communities right here in New York. This particular struggle against Cop City really symbolizes how interconnected we are. Why is the state so afraid of human connection and of us, of people building relationships with each other? I think it's because in order for the state to be able to break us down and control us and to continue to exploit us, they have to keep us separated from each other and to keep us from believing that our liberation is connected to one another and that we cannot be free until everyone is free.
So you said the state was afraid. You were arrested in January after the state had already charged 6 people with domestic terrorism. Were you afraid? I
think I would be lying if I said I'm not afraid at all. I think fear is a very natural human reaction, but it's up to each of us what we do, even if we are afraid. And despite the fact that, I do feel some fear of what might happen to me, I don't think I will ever stop fighting. I feel grounded in the fact that, I am just one small drop in this continuum of struggle. I am not the first one or the last one who will be facing this kind of state repression.
That state repression on the day you were arrested, or earlier that day, became very real in the killing of Tortuguita, Manuel Paez Terán, by a GSP SWAT team.
Yeah. I think it's still really strange to me to see them in pictures everywhere as this sort of symbol of a martyr. But I think that people forget that this is someone who was a real, full human being, with joys and hopes and dreams of the future. Sometimes there's like turtle doves that fly up here and they like actually sit right here out on the fire
While
escape.
you're out here.
Not while I'm out here.
Okay.
Like when I come to the window, oftentimes I see them. And you know, sometimes I like to think that they're paying a visit, you know? Yeah.
Nature communing with Tort.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the stakes.
When it finally happens and you were arrested,
Mm-hmm.
what went through your head?
I mean, when I first was arrested, I actually remember feeling strangely calm. You know, the state is coming down on me. It's coming down on the 61 defendants who are all charged with RICO, and many of whom are also charged with domestic terrorism. I do feel like afraid, but most of all, I feel very defiant. The state can take my freedom, they can take my body, they can even take my life, but they can never take my spirit. They will never shut me up, and I will never stop fighting against oppression in all its forms.
A lot of people would I think in your shoes, where they're already facing this repression, would take that as a sign to like maybe step back or you know, that I am doing enough. How do you keep going while all of this is happening?
I mean, I don't really know any other way to exist. Like when I die, whenever that is, and you know, I meet my ancestors, how can I like see them again and tell them, hey, I did nothing in this world that is so full of terrible suffering. You know, at the heart of it, what I want is, you know, for my neighbors not to be evicted just because they can't pay rent. What I want is for, you know, all the people who are unhoused not to be terrorized by police and all to just be housed in all of those vacant apartment buildings that we have lying around everywhere in this city that no one can afford. If we allow them to build this cop city and allow them to build all of the cop cities that are proposed all around this US empire, then we will basically just have more and more jails, more and more prisons, more and more cages. And that is not a world that I want to see personally. You know, whether it's prison or ICE detention, no one deserves to have their freedom taken away and for their body to be dehumanized and for their spirit to be dehumanized in that way. And that's really just where, you know, I'm coming from. It's not coming from a place of hate, it's coming from a place of love.
Were you surprised when you were given racketeering charges and domestic terrorism charges?
No.
No? Why not?
These are obviously highly politically motivated charges. And, you know, this level of state repression is nothing new. Like, I am not alone in this. The other defendants are not alone in this. There are so many movements in the past and ongoing that face, you know, this level of state repression just in various different forms.
You speak so eloquently about how this is all interconnected. Did that become real for you when you were in jail after you were arrested?
What actually like made things click for me in my mind, and you know, I really went down the path of becoming an abolitionist, was a bunch of years ago. There was a protest at an ice processing facility, actually right here in the city at 201 Varick Street. Put them on blast. So, you know, protesters were blocking the garage where ICE was bringing people in from detention centers. And I looked into this garage and I just saw this line of young people, and they just looked no more than 18. Like they were children, and they were in shackles. And I just remember the look on these kids' faces, it was this blank, almost deadened look, like as if they were dead inside. It was that look, and I just remember that look so clearly and so vividly. And and that was the day that I really, sort of promised myself that I would do everything I can to try to help recreate a world where this wasn't going to happen to anybody.
Is that ice facility still open?
It is.
Could we go?
Yeah, we can. Put them on blast. So this is the building where I saw those kids in the shackles all those years ago. I know what I'm fighting for. I think we really have to remember that the state cages, locks up, and kills thousands and thousands of brown and black and poor people every single day. It's routine. And what I'm experiencing is just a tiny fraction of what many, many people experience daily just simply for existing.
So, I have to ask. All of this care, all of this concern that you've expressed this entire time we've been talking doesn't line up with what we're told. But I have to ask, are you a domestic terrorist?
I mean, what does that word even mean? What is a domestic terrorist apart from what the state labels people who they think are successfully challenging their power and refuse to be controlled by them? And who are they to call me a terrorist when they're the ones every single day are terrorizing people and communities through poverty, through hunger, through homelessness, through detention, through family separation, through incarceration? Who are they to call me a terrorist?
So that actually, what you just described sounds like a conspiracy, but now I have to ask, are you part of some conspiracy?
The state is the one that's part of a conspiracy to keep us all oppressed.
Not a domestic terrorist, not in a conspiracy. Teresa Shen, who are you then?
I'm just the person who wants to empty all the cages and wants everyone to be free.
Thank you so much for one, having us out to you in New York and giving so graciously your time, and all of the amazing work that you're doing that we've learned about over the last day. And on behalf of everyone at ACDC, thank you.
Thank you for coming here too. I don't know, am I supposed to say more?